Okay, so it's day one, but it's not. So day one, I usually trick you into thinking that it's, day one of this challenge, but day one is really going to start tomorrow when we take these agreements to the test. But since one of the daily agreement rules is that it must be done the day before, we call this day one so everyone scrambles to pay attention. And really, all we're doing today is we're going to be writing out our first agreement card for this challenge. And so hopefully, if you've not already been there, we've had two videos before this, one that was our quick guide, but the second one was going through the workbook and doing the homework. So by now you should already have an idea of some things that are nagging at you. And if you didn't have any that were really standing out, in that workbook, we gave lots of examples of behavior, activity, nutrition, and growth agreements. So you should be ready to go. So next then, like I mentioned, you needed to have a deck of index cards or a notebook that is just solely for this, because you're going to note that you're going to learn through this that you want your card to go everywhere with you. It's again, one of those fundamental things that I truly believe is important. It needs to be in eyesight. This is really going to elevate your life. So we have to have intention around it. Now, typically when I used to do the boot camps for 15 days, I would actually go ahead and make 15 blank cards just like this. Doesn't have to be pretty like this, but BANG on there, even date it, because again, anything you can do ahead of time to really encourage you to finish this 21 days is great. But even if you don't, at least for today, you're going to want to have one where at the top you have it say my daily agreements. You then put the date over in the corner. We then have all four of these out. Leave a little space because you could have a bonus. Although if you are just starting this, my recommendation is stick with the four agreements. We can change them over time, but at least for these several, the first several days, it's the same agreements every day. You're really proving to yourself that they're habits. You don't want to take them off the card until it's become who you are and you're able to just take it off the card and replace it with something new. But until then, it needs to be on here. So it's not going to be necessarily exciting every day with this. You're going to have a lot of the same things written over. But for those of you that need to keep something exciting, there's a lot of power in the gamification with the cards. There's a lot of power in putting intention around it. I mean, as you can see, I've got a little cart here that's got my cute pens on it. I have, stickers that I can put on here. I've got my other, pens that I use on here. So make it fun in that way if that's going to help you have more intention around it. So once you have, like I said, the date up there, the B, the A, the N, the G, now you're just going to go through and between your notes from the workbook and just the note, just what's been, going around in your head, you're going to first start with your behavior agreement. And let's be intentional here. Remember, you don't want to make agreements you don't intend to make. You want something that's nagging at you. Mine right now, I'm going to go with it again, is the snooze. No snooze. For me, I've had a bad habit this last couple weeks. It's typically this will be one I'll be able to take off in a few days. I just need to get back into the routine of it and see it as a no negotiation tomorrow morning, no matter what happens tonight, right? For my activity, I want to take my no less than, because remember I said to be specific when you went through these rules, you got to be very specific with this. So it will be no less than a 10-minute walk. I call it like an anchoring walk, where I go out, no social media, no nothing. I'm really intentional with specific things I'm going to listen to. So no less than 10 minutes. So I'm hoping for more, but remember, I say start small because we want some wins. So I'm saying no less than 10 minutes. For my nutrition, it is to get my 4 liters in. I, again, have kind of just been slacking on that. This will be one that is, it's not conceptually hard. Open my mouth and swallow, but it is going to take me some intention. So putting it on here, and I'll probably even gamify it and add 4 little boxes so I can check off each liter as I do it. And then for my growth one, it is going to be reading, because we've had our evening routine has been out of sorts, and that's just been nagging at me. It's been a couple weeks since I've really, I've been listening to audibles and not sit with a good book. So that's going to be mine for my growth. But like I've mentioned in these other videos and in the workbook, this is all up to you and where it's bothering you the most. Maybe growth is to go to bed earlier. Maybe your behavior is to not yell at your children. Maybe your activity or your activity agreement is to get some stretching in or go to the gym, whatever it may be. Just know that you get to start where you want to start. And then since we haven't had a win or loss yet, I mean, you're basically just going to keep the win-loss there. And then your strategy blank for now, because it won't be until we have a card comparison. I will be taking you through, after we have our first full day through it, I'll be taking you through another, assessment of how to make sure you're scoring it correctly. When can you renegotiate? But I want to give this to you in doses every day. So all you know for now is this. Make your first card. See this as non-negotiable. Share it with someone for accountability. Share it with your partner. Share it with a friend. Bring someone into this with you. That's the best, is having someone with you that's an accountability buddy for the 21 days. But if not, share it somewhere where you have some accountability, even in our own, Facebook group, saying this is my first time and I'm going out on a limb. This is what I am wanting to agree to, and I'm nervous about it. Like, put yourself out there, because you need to see that no matter what these are, even if tomorrow when you wake up, you realize that this agreement didn't really do much for you, you still have to do it. You got to show yourself that you do it no matter what, because that's when they matter the most. Are you going to do it when no one's watching? Are you going to do it even when you see that it may not make a difference in the real world, but it does to your confidence? That's the thing you have to remember. Lastly, I want to just share a story when it comes to that. So when my husband and I were doing 75 Hard, which was 75 days of no negotiations on, these things that you had to commit to, there was one day where he went to go grab a handful of raspberries. And my stepson said, oh, can you have those? And now technically, physiologically, it would have made no difference in Eric's life to have those handful, in terms of his progress or rate of. But it was the point that it was his word, and he said he wouldn't. And so he put them back, and he realized that even though that technically wouldn't be detrimental to his diet, that's not part of it. And it is the principle of saying no to it. And that is going to carry so much power through these 21 days. You're going to see that you're going to need to say no to things or say yes to things. And it may not, your voice of compromise is going to say, what does this silly little 10-minute walk have to do with anything? It has to do with everything. Because are you willing to keep your word to yourself? So get ready for these next 21 days. Get this first card ready. What you're going to do is there'll be a thread that I will start in the Facebook group that you can go for accountability and post your card in the comments, just a picture of your card in the comments, and that way other people can see it as well. But you will still get the emails throughout this. You don't need to be in the Facebook group anymore, but you certainly can be. You want to add an extra layer of environment being strong, get in the group, get involved. If you think you've got it from there and you're good with emails, that's good too. But just know, if you start to have losses, I can promise you being in that group, being attentive, being involved is going to make it that much easier to be successful during these 21 days.